Are we live?
We are live.
Oh wow. Okay, I'm just yawning and doing the most. Like I
It
think
doesn't
we've been
matter.
live for like
I
59
think,
seconds and I was trying to get a contact lens out. But
oh
you
no,
know,
they
that's
can't see.
life.
Yeah, they can't. They can't. They can. They can hear us, but they can't see us yet.
I'm
I
like,
gotta pull.
wow.
I gotta pull the screen up,
Okay.
and I will right now. Hello, hello. Good night. Good night, everybody. Welcome to Black Marriage and Family, the weekly conversation, looking at topics that affect the affects black marriage, that ultimately affects black families, that overall affects the black community for black people. And not to say that other people can't get something out of this, but I think that one of the issues that we have in this society is that black people have a very unique dynamic of construction in America that makes some of our issues and our problems unique to us in ways that we don't even know, we don't understand ourselves. And sometimes we have integrated so much into the mainstream of America that we somehow um, can't get out of our own issues because our issues sometimes are not our issues; they're the issues that affect us. But again, that's neither here nor there. But that is where we kind of talk from and the place that we come from. But tonight we're going to be having it is the season. If you are on social media right now or any place, it starts the season of graduations and celebrations and things of that nature. And we know that those things are largely involved with family members, people coming out. But I brought this up because I think of my own academic journey to where I am today. After I finished that journey, I posted this post, and I want to put it up now. That's tonight's topic. Um, it talks about the support versus the congratulations. And if people are going through this kind of thing, if they're trying to put themselves in some academic, and this doesn't have to just be in academia. This can be in all types of situations and things that we face and we want to do in life. That a lot of times there's not a lot of support. We have to sometimes do it on our own. And but when we get there, there will be people who will come and celebrate and cheer us and be there. And the question, I guess we want to kind of talk about and evaluate tonight is how do we end up feeling about that? Is that right? Is that wrong? Um, does that kind of just only happen in our community? We know, I know personally in communities when people make a decision to go out and start doing something, start establishing something, they get full support from their family. Even from the point of looking at, in some instances, right here in Philadelphia, if immigrant comes to the country, decide they're going to open up a shop, they're going to get the right place, enough room for everybody to live in. Everybody's going to support and work around that business. They're going to live within that area. And I'm telling you, I know firsthand every morning I was going to work and I seen these group of guys walking to two different uh, corner stores, leaving from one house. So six guys, three going one way, three going the other way. I passed the three on one way and passed the other three going to the same little corner stores, not even 3 blocks away from each other. They all left and worked together. And I'm sure that at this point they're working, every time they're coming, establishing, and those kind of things. And we see that very often. Um, and sometimes I point out that, hey, people say, well, why can't we do that in our community? We don't do that. We don't, as soon as we get an opportunity, we moving out our parents' house.
I'm gonna tell you why we can't do it sometimes though. Mariah, you kind of low. For some reason I can't really hear you.
Oh yeah, let me see. Let me try to get some volume in there. Okay, hold on.
But let me just add one thing that I learned when I lived in Miami. How different Black people are. Okay. How being the minority, how being a citizen, but the minority, the expectations that they have for you to live up to the non-citizen. So we lived in Little Venezuela, right? Doral. And my daughter was having a very hard time like making friends. Her school was 1% Black. She probably was the 1%. And I kept wondering, you know, why are the people so standoffish? Then I realized that, and this is not for everybody, but I realized that one of the reasons why they stuck together so closely, why, nobody else could come in, kind of penetrate, why 15 people lived in one house, which wasn't a bad thing, was because one person was gaining citizenship at a time. Right. So it was like they were like clustering together to protect, Consuela, who doesn't have her papers, and they were all working each other so that they could keep the money right there until one person gained their papers or the next person gained their papers. So I know that I hate to sound very American, right? But
what do you mean by American? Explain
well, I'm going
to
to tell you this, but we just don't get it from their type of mud. Our mud is wrapped up in a present, right? And it said, hey, this is dirty. Or we're looking at it and we know it's dirty. But they have it in such a gift form where we think that we don't have to do the things that these non-citizen Americans have to do because we have the privilege of being citizen, if that makes sense. So whenever I look at them, after living in Florida, whenever I look at different minority groups that are non-citizens, I stop comparing Black folks to them. Because there are just some issues that we don't have. It's no different than, there are just some diseases that we don't have. Some diseases that they don't have. There are just some issues that we don't have, so we don't know how to navigate through them. We just don't. I mean, we're so far separated from. I was watching that clip you sent me by Dr. Joy DeGraw, and the Black lady who minimized her son, even though her son was doing so well with the Black, the post-traumatic slave syndrome situation. There are things that we innately have from slavery, but there are also things. I hate to reference Kanye West again, but he wrote a song about it. There are also things that we just will not subscribe to anymore. I'm gonna spend my money on some clothes because I want clothes. I'm probably gonna spend my money on an apartment. I'm probably gonna be very quick to go get my own stuff because I don't want to be jammed up. I want nice stuff, and you've given me what seems like the privilege to do it. You just haven't given me the tools to sustain it like they have. We don't have that generational wealth and all of the other stuff. So the apartment never turns into a house and the house never turns into a mansion and different things like that. But I can never, and that's just chiming in on, why don't we do things like other groups? Because we are uniquely not like other groups. There's nothing like the Black American is not like any other group in this United States.
Well, and I think what also fun because people don't. I mean, I think that people just don't understand the magnitude of what it means to be Black, a descendant of creation, and not get any appreciation. Right?
We're riding Gainesville. We get no respect.
And a big part of it is a big part is also the other end of that is being the scapegoat for everything else that's bad. We see in family structure and family structure A lot of times in the system work, we're looking at a family. The family has problems, and you begin to look at, say, and you figure out who's going to be the black sheep, who is the cause of all the problem. And that becomes the person in the family that becomes escape. So everything that happens becomes escape. Like, look, I sent you the thing about Luke today
Yes.
about how much money he saved in the child support. And at some point, in all of his, I don't know what it could be. And if he says to me, in all of his children, and now he's the bad guy in all of them. He's the bad guy in everyone.
And
And the
all of
question
them.
sometimes becomes, how? Because clearly they got the money. Listen, if he paid in child support over the years $2.7 million. Hey, listen, we say, oh, we don't believe that, right? But I will tell you, I've been in the court. I've been
I'm
in
sure
child
he
support court
did.
with one man
Yeah,
who once played professional football and stopped playing
absolutely.
professional football, and now he was owing a 1 point something $1 million
Yeah.
because he
I
didn't
mean,
know, you know.
yeah, it is definitely heard of that Luke could have been paying $2,500 a month. The here's the disconnect for me with that clip. Who cares? Money has nothing to do. This is the argument that men sometimes have. Money has nothing to do with me taking care of my child or whatever it is. The amount of money that you spent on a kid, he probably would have spent more on the child if he was the father in the home, right? So if he was the father in the home, I
Absolutely.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know how many children he has, but he said that he paid $2,500 a month. If he was the father in the home, I'm pretty sure that he would have paid out on those children more than $2,500 a month. But I don't think that his kids are saying, well, I'm not calling dad today because he paid this bill or didn't pay that bill. I mean, you can look at Luke over the years. I don't know Luke. I think one of the realest fathers that I ever listened to is Chad Ochocinco when he said, "I'm gonna get back at those kids after my career's over." He just said it out loud, and he did it. I mean, if you look at him now, he's very involved in his kids' life. It does not sound good, but he could not give those kids what he needed to give them when he was building for himself. Not good, not good at all. But he
Mhm.
said it out loud. He didn't have the capacity to do it. Is it possible that Luke just didn't have the capacity to do it, but you could pay the money? Maybe that's why your kids didn't call you on Father's Day because you don't present as a father to them. It's their perception of it. They're allowed to have whatever perspective they want.
Yeah, yeah, and listen, I will say that because we think about. I thought about this also when we're talking about this opportunity to the struggle to get there. The support. And again, I want to be very clear when I talk about the support. Right, support sometimes seem that saying, "Hey, what does that support look like?" Right, support is not a quick pro quo. That's not support. A big pro means that I'm making sure you get whatever because you're an investment. But if you fail and don't make it, I'm going to be very upset because I lost in this investment.
Let's look at like some very simple examples of support, right? Which is something that I had to break myself down to because I think that support is wrapped up in like words like forgiveness, love, and things like that, happiness, where people think that there has to be some kind of showing for you to actually be doing it. Sometimes support can simply look like just shutting up or just allowing
Mhm.
the person to kind of be. But I think that there are several words in this English language that make you think. And I do feel like, love is an action verb, forgiveness is the action verb, but the action can sometimes just to do nothing. Like it could be that. I think that when we look at the black family, a lot of the times we've been so conditioned to think that we always need to be doing something that sometimes the waters, the I hate to keep saying muddy waters, but sometimes support can look like overbearing, or when you pull it back, it can look like, oh, you didn't support me. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you don't really know clearly. When you don't really know clearly how to support a person, you kind of just need to stand out of the way. Or here we go, the big word again, communication. Communication. It's like I don't. It's a fine line between this support and congratulations. Very, very fine line. Like the words are. It's one of those things. I was at graduation practice today. A lot of congratulations happening. A lot of support still needed to get across that finish
Mm-hmm.
line.
Right.
It was like the down to the point where the kids were like, Miss Robinson, who's gonna stand right here to tell me when I need to stand up? It was like
Mm-hmm.
these things were
Like, yeah.
happening
Right.
at the same time. We were celebrating them for graduating, but they also still needed the support. So I looked over at one of them. He's like, Miss Robinson, such and such hit me. And I was like, I don't care, you're grown now. And the whole row was like, no, it's like that now. That's how you feel. I'm like, you guys have been telling me you're grown all year long. But I was able to share with my colleagues how much they still need and depend on us. So it's like,
Absolutely.
yeah, congratulations. But I guess my thought in all of this is support continuous and congratulations the finale?
Well, let me give you something I share with our fathers at the Fatherhood Think Tank, and anytime I talk to them, especially fathers who may not be able to be engaged in their children's life the way they want to, right? Is that support of your child does not end at 18, right? And probably
Hmm.
more important that, and many of us have learned this who have maybe wasn't, who was raised with our fathers who may have been not as active, or maybe known our fathers, but they weren't involved due to whatever. When we get in the age where we have our own one-on-one relationship with our fathers, the support they give us is so extraordinary that sometimes there's jealousy in that support because of the relationship now that you have. And I know clearly that I've seen mothers get very territorial, very upset, very hurt that you develop this relationship with a father or with that father. And let me say, it's not just father, but if you was raised by one person and then you got connected with the other person, because guess what? You always wanted to be connected with the other person,
Of
father,
course.
whatever, whoever. You want to be connected, and when you get connected with them and you get to meet them, now you're meeting them as an equal.
Hmm.
So it's not like they're telling you to do this, they're telling you to do it. You are now listening to like a sensei, someone who has experience, an elder who's giving you school, this and that. Oh, and they have the ability to tell you that because of the traits and the genes that was passed down through genetics, you are their offspring. So some of who they
Hmm.
is inside of you. You haven't even ever discovered it because you spend most of the time with one parent and you discovered all the things about them that was from you. But now you're discovering things about this other parent that you just, it becomes, oh my God. And if that father, as I tell fathers, be ready. If that father or that absent, as we would say, absentee parent is ready to come into the system and do this parenting, because two different kind of parentings, right? You There is the on care, take care parenting. Like, I get you, feed you, I give you a place to live, and I struggle real hard to make sure you have all the stuff you want. And then there is the parenting that comes somewhat of introducing this new kind of discipline with teaching and guiding. Now this parent, this older parent, can't. The way they're disciplined now is teaching and guiding and showing you
Hmm.
the ways things go, giving you their experiences, and being able to help you in ways that nobody else is going to help. You're not going to get any support like this. This is a support
Right.
where you don't know how you going you don't know how, oh, something happened, you miss a rent payment, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to survive from that rent payment because that money's never coming back. You missed it. This is
Right.
what
Okay.
working class people. Let's keep it real. Working class people. If you get money or something from somebody, it will take you to have sometimes a magical plan to be able to double the money to be able to give that person back their money
Right.
and continue to live without having to need money from somebody. A lot of people don't want to ever accept that. So I say, if you're gonna give people money, just give it to them. If they can give
Gotta
it
just
back,
give
they're
it to
gonna give it
him.
back. But if they're not gonna give it back. You never know when they make. Listen, I'll tell you, I'll be 100. You could be surprised that your blessing of the money you gave to somebody come back to you at times that you probably are in need, right?
Right. Right.
At this moment that I gave this person this, I gave the person that, and I won't just say it's money. It's also this exchange of this kind of support that people can give. Because sometimes money seems like, oh, the only support people need is money. No, sometimes people need the support of just saying, hey, come eat with us. Just come and stay at our house. They don't go, if you ain't got no heat at your house, come and stay at our house. The air conditioner not working at your house. Okay, come on over here. And these kind of things, are not handouts, but they're the kind of support knowing that this person is doing something. They're not loaching. I mean, and we see this more often. We know people, and I think we can talk about this very clearly from college, that people that supported us when we was in college, that wasn't our parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have in our mind about those people a love, a pat. Listen, I'll tell you one person right now, Joan Thompson, Joan T.
Mm-hmm.
Thompson, cigarette,
Yeah. Jared Curl. Yeah. I know
cigarette.
exactly what you're talking about. Right.
Yeah, Joan Thompson, like she's like the lady who
Yeah.
I never seen her smoke, right? But I know she
She just
smoked because
had it.
she reminded me
That
just of all the ladies in Philadelphia that had
throaty.
the same that
Yeah.
cigarette thing. But guess what? It wasn't just me. She did that. She did that for tons of students. She was there if you was in need and you was good and you was trying to do what you need to do. She embodied that Mary McLeod Bethune
Right.
support that you see so often. And so, and that was the kind of things we have. And that's the kind of support people need. You don't need, I mean, some people are getting things, but they're not getting support. Like, oh, you got a car, or so and so let you borrow their car, or they let you stay in their apartment. But guess what? Sometimes, guess what ended up happening? You flunk out of school. You know why? Because they're not giving the real support you need. Support you need is to say, hey, you at this institution to get education, so you need to be doing everything you need to do to get that. But
See, I am this is
yeah.
I am a teacher man the fish kind of support person. Sometimes I guess it just depends on where you're at. Because if we're talking about relationships, if we're talking about black marriage, right? Black marriage, family, then I feel
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes support is allowing your partner to be, you guys figuring it out, working it out. If we're talking about, to the children, which is very much so a part of black marriage and family. If we're talking about for the children, I'm definitely a teach a man to fish kind of person
Mm-hmm.
because unfortunately my personality, I'm very supportive. I'm one of Mary's daughters. I love helping. Like I'm in the helping field. I know how to help. I love helping. However, you also gonna get on my nerves if you need too much help. Like
Right.
if it requires too much, if the support becomes I don't know, I'm doing this. I have a person that I know who's in a good position. I mean, you definitely are above my pay grade. And this person is
Mm-hmm.
always today. This person needed support, and I kind of backed out, and I was like, I'm not gonna do anything. And one of my friends said, "Well, why aren't you gonna do it?" And I'm like, because the advantage that this person takes of people, and then they go back and say, I needed support, nobody supported me. But you
Mm.
never have your shit together. You, when people come out to support you, you don't even have things in order. You don't have things in place. You don't want people to support. You want people to build it for you, which is where I think when we go back to relationships, the breakdown happens. Because you know what? Let me just skip the children really quick. I was watching this clip with this little boy. I think the little boy, I don't know how old the little boy was, but he called his mom out and he said, "You want me to do things that you never taught me how to do. You want me to do things that you never, you want me to meet these expectations that you never showed me how to do it." I think sometimes what we fail to do is show people what we need as far as support. But
Right.
I do feel like as a human being, you have to be situationally aware enough to know what what you need as far as support. You can't just kind of put it on somebody to say, well, I need support. Well, what the hell do you need? Because we all need support. We all need things. You know what I'm saying? So I think a lot of times when we look at relationships, breakdown comes because we think that our partner is supposed to magically know what said support is. No. You know how many times have you been in a counseling session and you've asked someone what is it that you need and they can't articulate it. They can't say what they need.
Listen, I was in one this week and asked, what were some of the problems that you're having, right? What's some of the top problems and some of the issues and some of the things that you want from the other person or you feel like you're not getting? And it's kind of like it was very hard for them. It was very hard for the couple to come up with some things because I think that in many instances, maybe it's not, maybe they didn't have that many to, maybe they didn't really have some issues like that that they were trying to get rid of. Maybe it was a lot more about, just being able to be heard from each other, or be able to
Or
present things to each other in a way.
or
Go
in
ahead. Or
regular
what?
in regular black folks fashion, they ain't really want to say what they really need support in. Because I could need support with a menage a trois. Like, like what is it you I'm serious. I'm serious. Like
But
I'm
no, no,
very
no, no,
much
no.
so.
Listen. Hey, listen. You about to make, I hear you because you about to make me go into the later part of the show. But let's don't go there yet. But I hear
Okay,
you
okay, okay. I'm
because
just saying.
because you bring it. Listen, you bring this up, and I'm not. The biggest thing going on right now clearly is Sean Combs' trial.
Right.
His and obviously, in some point of this, we're looking at, and I find this to be fascinating of the number of children he has, right? The children are of a blended structure, right? His family is truly a blended. His children come from different moms. Some of it's not really his biological kids, and so, but they're all this and that. And then right now, based on the trial and the transcripts, almost going to what you're saying, that this case that I'm seeing that they have developed is sort of like uh, a dive into him and his and a partner's sexual relationship that also had some domestic issues in it. And I look at that and say, hey, if this is the case for a Rico, a lot of us in trouble.
Right.
You know, I know people would love to sit on the sideline and say, "Oh, he did this and he doing that." Oh no, I would never. And it can't be true. Listen, he is not. He is not an outside person who
Right.
is the sole freaky deaky, because y'all need, freaky deaky and
He's
hoopy
not the
hoopy
first
freak offs,
peer. He's
whatever you
not.
want
We
to
know
call
R.
it.
Kelly. R. Kelly was the first
Right.
peer. He's not the first peer. It's not.
Well, they
He's
would. They
not.
listen. They won't say Bill Cosby was the first. They tell
Okay.
you Bill Cosby, but listen,
The original.
if you want to, you can use these people, but they are just three men that probably make up 0.0.0.000 minus 1% of men overall and women who participate in this kind of stuff. And you want to know why?
You know.
You want to know how I can prove this factually? Because the stuff that people are hearing, right, is sounds like pornography.
Mm,
Pornography business is a multi-billion-dollar. So
right.
listen, who is buying, who is watching, who is having that go into their brains, and then you can sit on it. You can sit on a cliff and look at somebody and say, "Oh, look at what he's doing. He's doing what you watching every day." And obviously, if you
Well,
had an
they,
opportunity to do it, and we know this, you had we know this. If you had an opportunity to do it, you'll be doing it too.
absolutely. Well, here's the deal. They're gonna blame the children and the gays for watching the porn. That's who's watching the porn.
Oh, children
I'm
and
telling you, just the
okay,
children
because
and
they
the
got
gays.
all children and gays got all the money to watch porn, right?
Literally, they're the only ones that are watching porn. They're the only group of people that are watching porn. My thing is, when I watched a little bit of it, and I thought, "Damn, did he? Like you?" I think that his crime is just like any other um, person of that has too much power and, as they described, the Tootsie Roll penis and all of these things, like where you have too much external power but not enough internal power, where your external power starts to kind of overtake and it just gets warped after time. Because I don't think he's ever sat in a counseling session where somebody said, I just don't know what I want from him. But he clearly is telling people what he wants. And he probably just doesn't, or he never probably said verbally, well, I want to watch this man pee. Let me get clearance. Let me get clearance before we do this, because he was already Sean Puffy Combs. So he thought that his clearance was being Sean Puffy Combs. But when we go back to we can even put this into support and congratulations. When we go back to that couple that's sitting on our couch, it takes forever to get to, I just want to be able to go to the strip club on Thursdays and her let me do that without thinking that I am a perverted monster. Or let me just even go
Right.
even close and even simplify. I just want to masturbate without her thinking I'm a sinner.
Mm,
Because we didn't
mm.
go into the relationship, we didn't go into the relationship with this, and we went into the relationship with all of these, I'm so good, I don't need, and we know that, sexuality, we know that communication, we know that money, we know that these things are what break down marriages. Definitely, because Black people have, we're highly religious. Then you throw in the guilt of all of that stuff, and now you don't know how to ask for what you want, which is the actual support part. And
Right.
we talked about this in previous shows, where if you almost gave your partner the chance and said, hey, I want to do this, or I like to do this, I personally am not sure how many partners will say, well, then bye. At this mature age, if it's not like, if we're not living out P Diddy, you know, we're living out. I want, I want to go hang out with the boys, or I was thinking, I just don't think that we are. I gotta take it back to congratulations and support. I think that we are expecting a lot of congratulations for things that we should do anyway. Things that are just regular human. This is what you should be doing, and I think that there's nobody behind the person who needs support because we don't feel like we should have to tell people how we need to be supported. And I'm gonna make this a man woman thing. As a woman, you're gonna need to tell me what you need me to do. And I need you to not be worried about, I don't need you to think, I don't need you to call me out of my name or anything like that. I just need you to say, hey, this is what I need. This is what support feels like. I don't need you to
Mhm.
be like, well, I took out the garbage today. So you're supposed to take out the garbage. Or I knew someone who really thought that it was, they had to say, I'm here. What are we talking about? You're supposed to be here. We're in a relationship.
Right, right,
If
right.
you want congratulations for doing something that you're supposed
That's
to do,
nothing.
and you know what,
That's nothing.
that
Right,
brings resentment for me because
right.
now you want me to cheer for you, but you doing what you're supposed to do. Or I mean, I graduated college. Well, I mean, you should have. I mean,
Right,
yo,
right.
you okay? Like, what was there to stop you from not graduating college? Like, we're not. You don't get cookies for things that. I mean, let me just say this: you can get a cookie, just take it and eat it yourself. Don't expect for me to give you a cookie for something that you're supposed to do. So I think the lines get blurred there. And then, so there's several points. The lines get blurred when you're not articulating to me what you need support in. And I think that we don't often articulate what we need support in because we're insecure and we feel that we'll be judged for telling the person what we need support in.
Mm.
I mean, as a bald man, I could want a real living.
I
Huh?
think another aspect of it, I think that we have a big problem with in our community is being rejected, right?
Of course.
And that rejection will then lend itself to saying that I'm not. I know people say if somebody tell them no, they'll never ask them anything else again. And I was like, well, I mean, because why? Because you asking them and the first time was so much on you to have to ask them, but really you don't know. They might say no, they might say yes, and then are they always supposed to say yes to what you want, what you ask
No.
for? It can't be no negotiation. It can't be. Can if you don't, if you tell me, hey, if you tell me something, right? I'm more likely going to say, well, okay. Let me make this a little bit more clear. Let's talk about being married in a monogamous relationship, or even just being in a monogamous relationship. If you ask your partner for something and they say no, without any conversation, it's just like, no, I'm not doing that. No, I don't want that. That puts you in a predicament to, for a lot of people, immediately say, well, if you don't give it to me, somebody else will.
Mhm.
Because that's the society we live in today. So
It
that then
is.
puts people in relationships to say, whatever my partner wants, I need to be trying to be negotiable, flexible, and try to figure out what I. And again, here, and I'm gonna bring it back to Sean Combs and the young lady, because she even said in some of this testimony here that the reason she did the stuff and this and that because she knew he could get somebody else to do it, and she didn't want him to go do it with Kim or whatever, whatever nonsense, whatever it is. But that is so perfect, and I tell people that as much as you look at this trial and you think about at this point of the trial, because I don't know what's else to come, but this part of people having a over 10-year relationship, being together for over 10 years, involved with each other. Um, when you're looking at that, you see many dynamics of stuff that I've heard people in relationships talk about. They did, how it operated. You can't show me people who come domestic violence, right? And I know exactly what I'm talking about because I worked in domestic violence for many years. Domestic violence is so tricky and so hard because it involves the intimate partner relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens in that is sometimes in those intimate partner relationships, there can be violence, not just not like one-way violence. There can be two-way violence, but in the battle of that violence, who's normally going to win? Well, we know Al Green
Right.
didn't win. Al Green didn't win his right
Right.
because he the hot grits going on him. I think somebody else had a story where they had lost their eye or whatever. Some other artists they didn't win right in that domestic and I won't call it intimate partner violence. They didn't win, but normally the men have the physical stature and the ability to win in that. That ultimately turns into what we see now sometimes, and people do immediately say domestic violence. But there are people who've been in relationships, and so often people will also say this thing about, oh well, the person never hit me. Well, hitting you does not mean that you're not in domestic violence. You don't have intimate partner violence. We sometimes believe because the person can. One thing I can say in this case they're trying to build is that Sean Combs used threats. That's one of the things. Threats, physical
Right.
and mental. Those are three things. And within those three things, you don't have to get all of them for it to be. You can just get threat. You can have the threat that I'll leave you,
Mm-hmm.
and that's intimate partner violence.
You know,
Because if I'm
the
invested to be with you in this marriage, in a monogamous relationship, and you're threatening to leave me, you're talking about leaving me cold, dead, and I have everything invested in this.
when I worked for the courts, they were so appalled with me because they were like, well, how can you, there was this one particular client they fought all the time. All they fought. She was pregnant. They fought, and they would be good for one day, then they'd be back in love, and then they fight again, and they fought to like call the police fight. Like they just fought. And so the courts, they were so appalled with this girl because she not only fought like him, she fought everybody. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
could get fought. And I said one day in court, it's how they communicate. And they were like, what? I was like, this is nothing that you and I will ever understand because this is not something that because I had to point out to them that they were all so angry at him, right? How could he hit her? And I was like, you guys, this girl will hit you. Like you understand that
Yeah.
she'll hit the judge right now. So it's not just him hitting her, she also hits him. And
Right.
this is how they communicate now. And we have to teach them a better way of communicating because
Absolutely.
because they've fallen into a spiral that is so far away from what we as so-called normal human beings do, which is ironically not very far away from what I see patterns of children doing right now. I see girls hitting
Absolutely.
boys all the time. And I'm
Absolutely.
always like, listen, I need you to stop hitting him because as soon as he hauls off and hits you, it's going to be a problem. But I saw you slap him. I saw you, I'll do this to him. And I'm like, and once he's not going to hit me. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And so anyway, that I'm just going back to that with Puffy. Sometimes I feel like just as man, right? Not even rich man, just as man. I hate to say this because it's probably unpopular opinion amongst women. Sometimes I feel like we talk for you guys. Sometimes you guys don't have the words. You might be one of three men that I know who pretty much always have the words. Um, which is why we converse so
Mhm.
well, why we can talk and we can chat. But most all men that I know wait for me to fill in the blank. And once I fill in the blank, they take it and they run with it, right? And if I don't have the
Mhm.
words, or if I don't put the words there, they put the words that I used before there, right? So when I look at a Puffy and a Cassie, the first time he peed on her, or I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. But the first time something degrading happened to
The
her.
first time, listen, I got you. The first time that they were somewhere, and I think they were somewhere, and he kissed her.
Hmm.
They were somewhere. And the first time he kissed her. What was the words that should have been at that moment to balance that? Because what you're saying, and I think I got what you're saying. The second that he kissed her, and that wasn't like a rejection of it, right?
Hmm.
That means that you was down with whatever else
I'm okay
elsewhere.
with it. Right.
Right.
And so that's why people are finding it. And I think we probably just transitioned on, but that's why people are finding it very hard. People are not, some people don't believe it because you didn't stop it. You didn't say, I don't like this, I don't want this. But and again, it goes back to that abuse. But with Cassie, it's the age thing. Because what was she, like 16 or something
No,
like that?
no, no.
Oh, sure.
She was
How
20.
old was
Listen,
she?
listen. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you. Listen. There's so much. She was 22 already. Her
Okay.
and Ryan Leslie, I think his name is Ryan Leslie, was in relationship, struggling artists trying to come up together, doing their thing, and then they went and met, and then they met Sean.
I mean, even at 22, I mean, you're not equivalent to 16. You're
He was
legal,
30. Listen,
but
when she was 22, he was 34.
yeah, yeah. There, you okay? So at 22, you're 34. Even though you're Sean Puffy Combs, you're 30. You're 10 years older than her, right? So you are looking for the okay. I'm pretty sure he's been rejected. There have been women. There have been 22-year-olds like, fuck this old dude. Like I don't want to. I don't feel like dealing with this dude. Like I don't want to do this. But we can even take it back to the kiss. The first time you kissed and it didn't feel good, and we neglect to say this doesn't
Mhm.
feel good, is the past
Right.
to say, okay, we gonna keep going this way. It's not your no, I am gonna say this. It is, and I'm still learning this. I'm very much still learning this. As a grown 48-year-old woman, it is my job to say when something doesn't feel good. And it doesn't always have to be sexual. It doesn't always have to be, it could just be a hard no. I don't want to do that. I don't even have to know how to explain it to you that I don't want to do it. I just got to give myself the right to not want to do it. And so when I talk about men and us giving men the words, and then when we don't, when she's sitting there and she's kissing him, and the first time he says, now kiss her, and she doesn't want to kiss her, and
Kiss him.
he's sitting there waiting in anticipation for her to do it, and she does it, unfortunately, the abuser will take that as, and it's a fine line because some non-abusers will take that as, we can keep doing this. Let's keep going.
Oh no, no, no. Let me tell. I see my man out there, brother Pete. No, we're not talking.
We're not.
We're talking about. We're talking about. Let me be very clear, so it be clear. I know it sounds like we might be talking about the case, but if you read what we're talking about, we're using some of what's going on in this case to talk about what happens to us in relationships and how relationships can 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 spiral into what we're seeing live in the courtroom right now today. Um, so it's not so much about him and what's going on, but we're using that to talk about, the support versus congratulation. And I think that this their relationship is a perfect example of I think she was thinking maybe in this relationship of the support that she could get from Sean Combs,
That she could get from
major,
him. Right, right, right,
at a major exec who was signed at the label that she was signed at.
right.
And in the same instance, I want you to think about this, and people don't really think when they gave this man a lifetime achievement award at the BET Awards, the one person he gave a special shout out to was her. He didn't say Kim Porter. He said to her and said it in a way that a lot of people might today say is manipulative, but it's almost this kind of point where they were in whatever they was together. We and listen, and it's so often. I want to be very clear, and I'm not here trying to litigate the case or any of this, but I want to use what we know and don't really know about what we do know about people we have seen. We know of many couples who talk about the struggles and guess what? You hear it when they're at church, when they give a testimony together, or whatever, and it's acceptable to hear it. And then because at this point they're now repentant, they fell down and got back up. All of these things that they can say at this moment because it's at a place of testimony. They're giving
Well,
their
wait.
testimony.
Let's look at the original Puffy and Cassie, Ike and Tina, right? Okay, so we make light of it all the time. It was a movie full of domestic violence, but in black people fashion, and to make it comfortable, there were some things that we just kind of laughed at because it was almost absurd to see this happening on the big screen.
Right.
But when you look at Ike, when you look at Tina and Ike, Ike was one of those people who said he was doing what he was doing because he needed support and also because she wasn't congratulating him enough.
And she was
Like,
getting more congratulations. He felt
oh
like he
yeah,
made her, and
he made her.
she was getting more congratulations than him, and she wasn't coming back and saying, "Oh, I would be nothing without Ike. I made
But wait,
everything."
I watched the video clip that's going around where the lady, this was years later, she was like, well, and this is why you almost have to like Ike because he was very honest, which was weird. So he was saying he really thought that he was supporting her. He thought that he was the person. So she said, why would did you ever hit her? And he said, yeah, there'd be times where I'm asking her what's wrong with her. And she just be like, he, and I just smack her. And then she get back right. Like this man really thought that this was the type of support that that this
Right,
woman
right,
needed him
exactly.
in his head.
Absolutely. I'm fine. I'm so glad you brought that up because it really goes to show that we can. Last week we talked about heroes, heroes, villains, and victims, right? And it's so funny that this is coming back to this conversation we're having today because in that thing when you're talking about Ike believed that he was a hero for her,
Yeah,
not the villain. But everybody
no.
seen him in his sense as a villain and only seeing her as a victim. And when we look at that, when we start looking, and I tell people when we look at our own relationships, who is the victim? Who's the villain? Who's the hero in the relationships we have? It because one time we would like to maintain. Our society loves to have and want to be the victim. But one of the problems with being the victim is victims always will become either a hero or a villain or both because that is the triangle of being a victim. The victim doesn't stay being a victim because if you stay being a victim, when do you get your congratulations?
And 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 again, you know how I feel about the single mom title, right?
Uh
Like
huh.
I am what I am, and a single mom is definitely how I raised my daughter. But I went through so many phases of that where I was first, the victim, and then all of a sudden I became the hero.
Mm-hmm.
No, hold on. I'm sorry. I was first the villain because I was black, single, unmarried. Then at some point things changed and I was the victim because now this black man is the reason why I am this way. And I went into that like head first, like give me I'm the single mama bad shirt. Like, this is, this is when I'm coming into like my hero stage and, we can do everything. And it's so unbalanced because I watched my kid think that I could do everything.
Mm.
And my self-esteem struggled for it because I could not do everything. So while you're going through all of these phases of, hero, victim, villain, all of those phases, your self-esteem, your psyche, everything is taking a hit
A
on
hit.
this stuff.
Absolutely.
Because I think there were times where I didn't really know what I was supposed to be in that moment. Like, and I can tell you one of the things was child support court. There was a time where um, I started making more money than him.
Right.
And I was definitely okay. And finally, I said to the judge, I'm never coming back in here again. I don't need this money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that wasn't from me being the hero. That was from me finally finding my footing and my grounding. But for years, I made enough money to not need his money. But I kept going because for some reason, you did owe me the money, and it would have been nice, but the relationship that she had with her dad probably would have been better.
Right.
Like if we could have come to some kind of agreement and there did not have to be the man involved. And it's funny because I just wrote this in an email to him where I took ownership of that because I can remember now him saying, I just don't want to be on child support. And I can remember feeling weak for not putting him on child support, then going through feeling like I'm a single mom, I need help. And that was like a very short period of time for me where I actually needed his help because I got a job, I started making money. Um, but I say that to say my self esteem took a hit on it. And then I saw my daughter's self esteem, not her self esteem, but her view of who I was as a woman or what I could
Mm.
actually do as a woman. And there were just some powers that I had, I did not want to have them. If I'm putting together drum sets and things like that, I don't want to put together the drum set. I don't I don't want to do it at Christmas. I don't even want to teach you how to ride a bike. I don't want to do it. But I found myself doing it so I could get like the pat on the back. Look at her taught that girl to beat those drums. I don't want to teach her to beat no drums. I want her daddy to be doing it. It's just you, and then we can go back to support and congratulations. There were times where I'll say this right now. Right now, we need his support. Right now, but what he probably thinks is that I want some type of congratulations for getting my daughter through the hard times. But no, sir, right now we need your support because she's transitioning again. But
Mm-hmm.
again, it's so close. I'm telling you, the congratulations and the support, they're they could be four-letter words, both of them. They could be used as four-letter words. This is it all comes back to communication. Communication. Even when we look at P. Diddy Cassie, even when we look at Ike and Tina, when Tina hit back, he stopped. When Ti-
It
when
sent
Tina was
it
in there,
sent listen, it
she
sent a
heard
message to say
it, sent a
it was no
message.
more. Right.
I'm good. I'm done. I'm done.
And listen, and here's the vital part, I think, when we look at this, of the communication part of this, right? Because consent for something, right? Normally, this consent is only given when a person is sober, intellectually able,
Hmm.
without forcing, say yes to something, right? So often, people believe that people not saying anything
Oh
gives them
yes.
consent. If the person, uh, and it's not about the person, not the person, and we have to be very careful, our society wise, because no, a lot of times is the Tom and Jerry syndrome. No, but you chase. No, but you
Hmm.
chase. No, but you chase. It's not. It's not like, no, I do not want you to put your penis in my anus. No, that not
Right.
that. It's
Right.
like, oh, don't do
Right.
that. Oh no. Oh, I'm not. That becomes this thing of, it's consensual, when really it's not
Right.
consensual, because that's not what you really want. But you're not knowing how to say it, and that person, and I'm not taking the blame from any person, that person also is not really asking for true consent.
There's
They're
also
not
one more
asking for true
part.
consent.
No, no,
Go
they're
ahead.
definitely not. But there's also one more part. There's a little bit of that person that you want. So I may not want you to put it in my anus, but maybe under my arm. There's a little bit of something that I want from this person, because when I'm when I when I just don't want you, I just don't want you. And I'm probably not gonna be around you at all. And so I think that it goes back to like a college kind of high school thing where you are, well, if I do this, then maybe if I be okay and they won't do this way again. I mean, we bargain like this all the time in life, and I know that some of us have evolved to not do this, but I do think still a great many of us bargain with our own. uh, we bargain with our own freedoms. We bargain with. We'll say, well, if I say that this is okay, then maybe they'll just do this, and everything will be good. So
Mm.
I think that the mixed message is often given because the message is not so mixed up. I like this part about you. I don't like this part about you. There was clearly a part of Ike Turner that Tina liked before he became so sinister. There was a part of it. There was a part of Diddy that Cassie liked before he became, the just sinister. And so I think that we often feed those parts.
Well, I mean, again, Fawn, I'm going to say this, and this is very important to put in the context. Some of the issues that cause people not to like and have problems, a lot of times come from their relational dynamics in the relationship. Like, yo, I could have been doing the stuff he was doing to Tina initially, until Ike started having sex with other ladies in the band, right? Because now that changes the dynamic. Is you beating me, but you giving her all the loving, giving her flowers, and you holding me to. So
Right.
that changes a dynamics. And so then now, if there is, like I tell a lot of people in some relationships who don't have the opportunity to have a compare and contrast. That's why it's dangerous for people to go get in a relationship without having any experience of relationships or dating anybody, and get involved with somebody that that may have a lot of experience, because then that person, what they do becomes the model of what you think all relationships and how relationships are actually work. Where
That's also
if you
why
date it and you have
affairs, right? But that's also why affairs are dangerous
right,
because
right,
you're getting the best of.
right.
Because I always say in session that person doesn't
Whoever
owe
you
you
have
anything.
that friend with, right,
Yeah, they don't owe you anything. You're
right.
the fun bucket.
That person,
Like you're the person. You're the relief.
right.
So it's very dangerous when we get in
What,
these
what,
affairs. Go ahead.
what's that Tyler Perry movie? Um, that had the Smollett girl in it,
Oh my God! You
and
mean
she
when
was a
you know how I
therapist.
feel about Tyler Perry? Like he's gonna make the lady
And she went
be dead
to the
with
set. But
AIDS at
that, but
the
this is
end. But
perfect. Is that what you're saying?
right,
And
exactly.
she was with your boy. He was just a mild pharmacist,
He was a
and she
pharmacist,
was
and she
doing
wanted
everything. And then
right.
she met the big guy who was, and then he was like 7 degrees of separate, whatever that 6 degrees of separate, whatever
Yeah,
that thing was. And he had to taking drugs. He had to doing sex with other. He had to do all this stuff because she thought that being with this mild mannered regular guy wasn't living life until she realized at some point so much that came with that. And I think you look at this and listen. This is when you think about that movie. When I think about that movie, when I was listening to some of the testimony and some of the testimony, I was thinking about this whole thing here because very similar. You know, and I can't
I
let go
can't.
of. Listen, I'm sorry, I can't let go of Ryan Leslie. You know, God bless his soul, because the man say he still love Cassie to this day. Um, he still love her to this day. God bless his soul. But
I can't. I can't. Okay, so I can never come back to the Tyler Perry movies. That I actually sat through that movie, and his imagination is just so great. Um, but my thing is, I understand that, and this is what you just said is two affairs because they do think that it is like television.
right,
But really,
exactly.
all you're actually doing is picking up the other person's problem. So all of us are not going to have the Tyler Perry mental that Tyler Perry gave the Smollett girl. Nobody's really gonna have that affair. There will
Right,
be one Cassie in this world. There will be one that this man is just. It is just rare that this girl is going to. You're gonna go. You're gonna be having sex with other people, doing drugs, and end up looking 40 years older with HIV, and going into the same pharmacy that the man who you
that's
left
your
is there.
that's
Like
your husband. That's your husband
completely,
used to work in. And
completely
that and that
absurd.
and that your husband's new wife is the girlfriend of the dude who gave her AIDS to. The whole thing is just like a TV show, man.
It is.
Let's
It's
just
just a TV show, but this is why we do shit like this. We do these things because
art,
we really actually think that
because
this is what this is what support looks like, this is what congratulations looks like, this is what all of this stuff looks like, when really all of this stuff is just a filler. All of the human being stuff that we do is just a filler for not being satisfied, which takes
mm,
you back to communication, which takes you
mm,
back to just being honest, saying I'm not satisfied. I don't like it when you, I don't know, tickle my toe. I want you to pull my toe. Because what we're never going to have is the Tyler Perry movie. You're not going to have the one that he just had with, what's that girl name? Kelly Rowland. I don't, I do not watch Tyler Perry. I cannot stand Tyler Perry. But because these things are ridiculous. You have a captive
mm.
black audience. You literally have a captive black audience. These things are never going to happen to people ever.
Well,
It's just
listen,
not
listen.
gonna.
Fine, hold on. They
No,
are happening to people
no.
only because listen, they're not happening. Listen, let me tell you why. They're not
Okay,
happening because people's mentality is to do that. They're doing it because art, not art is imitating life. Life is imitating art. So art, listen, we know this from reality show. Listen, the reason why we have so many young ladies who are so violent, ready to get in raw, pop it up, pop
Oh
up,
God.
fight
Oh yes. Okay.
anywhere, is because they watch reality shows that stage them in a fancy ass restaurant. Listen, that's not what you don't go to a fancy restaurant to fight anybody and get in an
I
argument and
just
do.
told my
But if you
students.
see it, if you watch it, if you watch it, if you watch it 3 times in a week and you watch it for 60 months, 3 times in a week, you watch it for 60
Right.
months, you then feel like that's what in reality is because they doing it. That's what I should do too. That's
I
why we got
just
that's
told
why
my
we got our
students.
young people dressing the way they dress. That's why we got young boys out here killing each other the way they killing them because it's all of the art now influencing how they operate in life, and that is what we have to get back to.
I
This is why Black
completely
Panther family
agree.
is so important.
I
That's why I
completely
do.
agree. This is nothing new. I mimicked what I saw on TV. I wanted to go to the school of the different world. I found my different world. This is literally nothing new. This is the same
You wanted to
concept
have
that
family
always
like the
happened.
Cosby family,
Yeah,
the
this is the
Family
same
Matters
concept,
family,
all of it. But
227.
okay, but here we are. I just told my students this the other day. I've never thrown a drink in one of my friends' face ever. I've ne- I've literally never. The other day, somebody called me a bitch, and I was so appalled by it because I'm not sure how many times in this life I've been actually called a bitch to my face
Right.
by like
Absolutely.
somebody who knows. Like I don't know if I've ever been called a bitch. I think somebody actually called me a cute little bitch on the plane. Not just I think they were trying to say, well, they were still trying to be nice with it. But
Right.
it took me from like I'm 48 years old and somebody called me a bitch and I thought I might have got in my car and cried because I thought, what? So I'm trying to tell my kids that even though you see this every day, you got to know this is not real life because I have never in 48 years been called a bitch. And somebody just called me that the other day and I was completely shocked. I've never thrown a drink in one of my friends' face. And I've definitely never had an affair that led me to get HIV and actually visit the same shop that the man who I like. These things are just completely absurd. But you're right. This is life imitating art, but art is not real life. It's a
Right.
part of it. There is no, when you
And
look at a
it's not,
painting,
listen, Ron, it's almost, listen, this ain't even fictional biography,
no,
historical fictional. This is, a lot of this is straight fictional that's becoming reality. The kind of things that people will do and think is okay. Listen, I'm not going. I don't want to bring bad on our authors, our writers of those black novels who started writing those black novels that had all the salacious things that
Elian
you would read and
Harris,
be like, oh, not
yes,
just the whole,
same,
all the people,
same,
because anybody, listen, everybody would write one of them little books. Everybody
for
write one of them
sure,
little books,
for sure.
and they be saying, yeah, you read the book, you be like, oh my god, oh, where did they
I
get
read
such
them
a,
all.
and people saying, oh, this is real. No, it's not real.
Yeah,
Listen, it's not real. You want to know what's not real? What reason why you know it's not real? The reason I can tell you it's not real, because every morning at 5 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, take a shower, and get on the bus and come to the school, right? And I don't leave this school until about 7 o'clock at night. I'm giving a lot of my locations, so if any of the ops out there, now you kind of know where my location is. At that point, from that little bit of time, I gotta go rest and get ready for the next day.
right.
So, or whatever time it is to do all this stuff that is in these things,
Mm-mm.
no working class person who really works, who does something that they like and they're productive in, are doing any of that. When Saturday come, I might get to go and do something on Saturday in that little bit of time. That from the time I wake up to to Saturday Night
Right.
Live come on. That's a time frame you get to do something. And Sunday you got to go to church. Then after that, I got clients, so that day is almost busted too. So you're looking at all this time. When I'm going, listen, you think I'm gonna spend
No.
my good? I'm gonna go out to a
Mm-mm.
restaurant Friday. I'm gonna get in an argument. I go out with my lady and we go out, and she gonna throw
No.
a drink at somebody. I'm not about to do. Listen, who got time for that? Because guess what? That could threaten me from getting to work, and I got to pay rent, electric, water, loan payments.
Right.
You just name any kind of bill that you're gonna have to pay if you living and having a good life. And we still ain't, as I said earlier, even if I got money for somebody else, in my day to day pay the check of people do whatever. If you borrow that big money and something for somebody else, there's no way I'm gonna pay it back. No way I can pay it back. Not at that moment. Not in like when I tell you. Listen, I used to do this all the time. People say they borrow whatever, right? And I say, okay, cool. We can't pay me back. And they tell me when. And I say, well, what? How you gonna pay me back? Right? And that's just a kind of question. Because if I tell you I'm gonna give you this and I'm going to take it from me to give to you, because remember, I'm not rich.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some, if I do have some savings, it's not to be used as
Absolutely.
a fund for people.
Right.
I did that. I did that already in life. I did that in my 30s. I used all of my money to give to people, and I didn't get a lot of it back. But hey, it is what it is. I got the blessings back double fold. But this is what we're looking at. But when you live in that life, all this reality, fake reality stuff, you don't have time for. You don't even have the energy
No.
for. Matter of fact, you
But
don't even
but
got the
but
time to watch it.
but sadly, people are setting their lives up to be this way. Like, and it's not
Absolutely.
just the kids. It's just not. It's not just the kids. There are literal adults that are actually setting their lives up to look like, this whole reality TV thing, which also I love support versus congratulations, because we look at these people who are begging for support, begging to be seen, begging to, but all they actually get is congratulations. So you're
Mm.
looking at like the Portia Wood, and you're looking at all of these people. They're big, like they're freaking begging for it, but that's all they get. And it's there's no, and it just shows you how, when you're not balancing that stuff out, how it gets all misconstrued.
Mm.
When I look at Basketball Wives, I when you get your hair braided, that would be the only time that I watch reality TV, because they put it on a reel and it kind of keeps going, 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 going. So that's the first time I ever saw Basketball Wives. But
But
I'm gonna
Vaughn,
talk about one that was more one.
you said a mouthful. You said, listen, if people take anything from tonight show, support versus congratulations, because we started about going to college, going to school, and
Yeah, yeah,
graduation.
yeah.
But I think you hit the nail on top of the head, right on, because you said that the people, and we can see it because they crash out. They need
Crash all the way
support.
out.
They need support, but all they're doing is getting congratulations, and congratulations is being celebrity.
That's it.
Not
Yeah,
being celebrity.
that's the
That's the
pinnacle of
congratulations.
congratulation, though. Like, who
Absolutely.
doesn't want to be celebrity? Who doesn't want to be all of these things? But now you've gotten it and you got nothing.
But you can't be the celebrity only. I listened to my line brother sent me a young man who was the valedictorian at his high school, and he made a great speech about how when he found out he was in the running to become valedictorian, he did everything he could to become valedictorian. And then now he was the valedictorian, and from the 15 minutes that he had, that they called his name and the cheers and this and that. On the 16th minute, he was like, and what now? Because that was over. It was it. I did all this for that 15 minutes that I got recognized. People was cheering. I was like, I'm the shit. I'm the best of the, look at my gold thing, valedictorian. And he said at the 16th minute, what was it? It didn't change. That didn't change any of the other things that was going on in his life. It didn't change that he didn't know what he didn't know yet when he was going to college. Being a
Right.
valedictorian didn't say that.
Well,
He didn't know how his family was going to pay for college. What things was going on with his parents getting a divorce. All of these things he began to name that did not change because he had that 15 minutes of fame, but everybody would
exactly.
remember that he was the valedictorian, and that made him special and great and celebrate. But they didn't know all the real things that he really needed support for.
They didn't know the support.
Right.
You got all of these things, but the support, the pinnacle of the fame and all of that other stuff, we look at it all the time. I mean, these people die. They die because they feel unseen. They feel unsupported, unheard, unrecognized. You die at the top of your game. You're a Michael Jackson and you die because you took too much of something because you just wanted to sleep or whatever it was. You're a prince and you die. Like these people are at the top of their games, abusing their bodies. You're abusing your bodies because you can't stand you got and that's what happens when you just get too much praise. Too much praise, then what happens is that we go back to the communication, right? And this is why I refuse to give the flowers that are unnecessary. This is why you can't tell me, but I'm here. And I'd be like, well, thank you for being here. Or sometimes it's difficult for me to take. I tried, right? Because we're all trying. What are you talking about? I'm not, you don't, oh, what is it? You men will say, you don't see my effort. Fuck your effort. I'm sorry. Do what you're supposed to do. Like this is not a like I read something where it says intent means absolutely nothing. And that was like a really hard pill for me to swallow. But it's true. Nobody cares about your intentions. It's what you actually did that people care about. So
Right.
it's very hard for me to say, okay, let's pat you on the back because what we know is that praise is almost like saying sorry without changing. Praise without
Right.
like something to praise. What are you creating? What, what are you creating? It's manipulation
You know what you create. We see them every day. The monsters
every
that
day,
we see them
every
every
day,
day. We see
every
what
day.
it looks like. We
We
see
know
what
what
it
it looks
looks
like.
like. We see entitlement and
Yes,
that they can never be wrong. And if you do something to them, they need to be protected like victims.
yes. To, I'm telling you today, a young man who's literally yesterday he was like, "I'm grown now. I'm grown." Today I said, "I don't care. You're grown." No, I mean we're not that grown yet. What are you talking about? All year
Right.
long you've been telling me you're grown now. You're grown now. I mean, this is a topic that I feel like we could break down more and more and more and more and more. It looks like it's so simple and so basic. The
Yeah,
picture,
it look like what are y'all talking about?
right, right.
Congratulations and support. But once we get and this is a big part, and I say this, folks, as we going to come to the end of tonight's show. These are the kind of topics that we put into place and begin to look at it in the dynamics of everyday life. So we talked about so many different examples of this idea of support versus congratulations. Look, we talked about the support that Luke Campbell was giving to his kid, and he felt like he not getting no goddamn congratulations. He said they can't even call him, tell him Happy Father's Day. And I would say this, that at some point you could feel some way about your father, and you feel some way about somebody, But there is, listen, it could have been worse.
Oh,
You could have
absolutely.
fathers said, I'm not
Yeah.
giving y'all no damn money. Fuck you and your mama and anything else and find a way to weasel out of it, like a whole bunch of people do.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's two
that's
sides of that. Or I might have just wanted the $5 and not your $2,500 to not be around you.
right. I wanted the $5 every time you came and picked me up.
No, I would prefer to have a dad who only has $5 because he's
Who
better than the
came and
man
picked
who
me
has
up?
2,500. Yeah, who
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 came
who
and picked
actually
me up?
talk. You're
We
right.
only had
Who actually
$5
talked
and
to me.
all we could get was a Chico stick and a
We
pickle
got we
for
got a biggie
20 cents.
bag. He came and got me, and we got a biggie bag. But he picked me up and he spent time with me. Like
Absolutely.
this is So it's again. When I saw Luke, I was like, "Come on, Luke, what did you do in between this time?" But we this could be a continued topic. This topic could just build on, build on, build on, build on, build on. Um, and like I said, from the picture alone, where the man is by himself, when we're looking at support, and then there's a lot of people back there with the congratulations. Like when I look at all of these people back here with the congratulations, sometimes I even see people who want to be in your space. So that's why they're congratulating. Not
Right.
necessarily because they're cheering you on. And it's not a negative thing. It's just that people want that fame. They want all of that. People want to be the person who succeeds. So yeah, I'm gonna cheer. I'm gonna congratulate them on. Nobody really wants to be the hard worker. No, no. That's why the support part is so hard. Because support takes work. You got to figure that out.
Listen, as the CEO of my present job says all the time, if success was easy, everybody would be successful. The
Absolutely.
reason why success is not easy because it takes hard work. And if you don't do hard work, guess what? You will not be successful. There's a lot of people who smart, but that don't make them successful because
Correct.
they don't work hard. They're the person who has a traumatic brain injury, have one arm and walk and can't walk in a wheelchair, and they could be way more successful than a full able-bodied person with a fully functioning brain. You know why? Because they work hard.
Right.
So and that's it. And guess what? They're working hard, probably without any support, and they're not looking for any congratulation. That person who has fully functioning, they looking for everything. They don't want anything else but congratulations. Because congratulations, look at the picture. Look,
It looks
congratulations
so
look cool,
good.
man. It looked fun. I got
It
all the
looks
people with
good.
me. They listen. We having a hoop, a holler, this and that. Listen, when you on the support time, you by yourself. You're rolling dolo, and that's how we go though. So listen, I want to say to you guys, if you haven't done so, please like, share, subscribe. Send this to somebody you might know who might be in a place of congratulation and who really need support. People who are out here without support, and then they feel some kind of way when they are being successful, and everybody wants to congratulate, pat on the back, be in the circle, be at the party, be at that. And some of those same people were saying, "I hope he don't make it. I hope she fail, because then that'd be good. And teach them. They think they better.
Oh
They think
yeah. Oh yeah.
so. That's definitely the part we'll say. We'll be right back here next week, 7 o'clock, um, for Black Marriage and Family. I realized today the short, this crazy,
The what?
but the just is BMF. The initials is BMF. So we'll be back for BMF. I don't want the Black Mafia family to uh,
Mm-mm.
come and attack me. So we're gonna just keep our full name all the way out. The Black Marriage and Family. See, they even BMF needed some black marriage and family for the issue they had
Absolutely.
recently. Letting somebody come in between the father and the son and all that. But then again, these are the kind of things that we can talk about on the show, and we will be talking about them. Again, I definitely welcome any people you want to come onto here and have conversations. Conversate with me and Fawn. Tylan was, and another, I want to send a shout out to Tylan. He wasn't here tonight because he is at Cannes Film Festival. His one, a movie that he directed and put
In
together
France?
with some
Is he in
huh?
France? Is that where that film festival is?
Yeah, in
Oh,
France,
cool.
Cannes Film Festival.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's where that stuff is. So he's out there previewing it. Maybe he might not be there. Maybe the other people might be, but that's where he's at right now because I know they have a whole virtual part of that whole thing where he can be there. That movie's being screened tonight. It was tonight at 7 o'clock, so
Awesome.
that's why he wasn't here. But I'm sure he'll be here back next week. Hopefully, he'll tell us a little bit about it. And so, and folks, as we know, coming up, we won't be here before that, but remember that Malcolm X's birthday is coming up, and so we're going to be celebrating that. I'll be celebrating that this weekend here in Malcolm X Park in Philadelphia. Big festival going on. I mean, I got a busy Saturday. See, I got a busy Saturday. In the morning, I'll be going to the college thing at the Met. Look, I'm giving the ops all my information. No, before that, I'm going to the open market, the Emoja the Europa open market. Then I'm going to go over to there. Then I'm going to Malcolm X Park. Full day of activities, getting my blackness poured back into me, being around positive blackness,
Nice,
positive
nice,
things, and
nice.
and that's a very important. So I won't have a mindset about throwing beers on somebody or shooting somebody down in the street or getting
Right.
upset because I write down in the comments that something of this, and then I'm saying you disrespect me, I'm about to get back with you. I'm not. None of that is necessary, but we will say this. Thank you so much for joining us. Definitely join us next week. And if any fathers out there, definitely you can join us on Tuesday night, Fatherhood Think Tank at 7 o'clock. You can look on my page. I go to the Fatherhood Think Tank on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. They all there. Get the information for that. And then the last but not saying, Wednesday night we have um, Wednesday night we have Wednesday night we have Fawn just sent me a crazy message because her phone died. But anyway, but her picture's still up there. Like she, the phone did die, but anyway, it's over. Anyway, I just want to say good night. Thanks everybody for joining us. And we'll see you here next week at Black Marriage and Family. Good night.